I so the word that we're going to go over is anticipation. So anticipation, it's used with Hitchcock's works. It's basically what separates him, and it's what makes his movies thrillers. And so, if y'all could repeat the word anticipation.
Anticipation.
All right. So anticipation is basically someone waiting for something to happen. It's when they know that something is going to happen. They may not know exactly what's going to happen, but they know that something is going to happen and it's going to be exciting. Whatever's going to happen is going to change things. So in one of our other plays that we've gone over, Death Trap, you know that one of the characters is going to die. You know that he is going to attempt to kill his wife, and you know she's not going to make it, and so you're waiting for that to happen. You don't know when, and you don't know how, but you're anticipating for that death. So, what are some things that y'all are anticipating for right now?
Today to be over with.
Today to be over with.
Thank
you. Hey, look, to get some food. Alrighty, because you know that sooner or later those things are going to happen. You know that today is going to end. You'll be out of school, or at least you won't be helping me with this lesson, or you'll get something to eat. You may not know what you're going to do after you finish it. You may not know what you're going to eat, but you know that you're going to eat, and you know that you're going to enjoy this. So what are some movies that y'all have seen? Some kind of like horror movies or something like that, because they use that a lot. What kind of some movies that you've seen that use anticipation? Carrie. So how do they use anticipation in Carrie?
Whenever they asked that girl, who was really a nobody, to go to prom, you knew something crazy was going to happen.
Right. And you knew that she was getting set up, and you were waiting for that to happen, especially since it was showing her little psychic powers beforehand.
Yes.
All right. So the next vocabulary word, or in this case, it's a set of words that we're going to go over, is the suspension of disbelief. So basically, a lot of movies that you've seen and a lot of cartoons, especially Deadpool, use the suspension of disbelief, and they break the suspension of disbelief. So if you could just please repeat with me the word suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief.
All right, now the suspension of disbelief is when you are accepting the rules of the play or the story and the laws of the world that's going on. It's like with Peter Pan, whenever you're watching it and they use pixie dust to fly, your immediate reaction isn't, oh, pixie dust isn't real, pixies don't exist, this is stupid. What you do is you're watching it, you're so basically engrossed that you accept it, and you accept that pixie dust can make kids fly while you're watching this movie. It doesn't take you out. Now, some movies intentionally will take you out of the suspension of disbelief, like with Deadpool, to when you see him and he's talking to the camera, and you're basically reminded that you're watching a movie about Deadpool. So, what are some examples of times to where you have suspension of disbelief while you're watching a movie?
What about Twilight?
Twilight, okay, so...
Because I guess it would be more like the whole world of vampires and werewolves.
Right, exactly, yeah. That world has vampires and werewolves. There's not any vampires and werewolves in the real world, but whenever you're watching the movie and you're watching it, you accept it. You accept for that hour and a half that vampires and werewolves exist in that world.
You mean Edward Cullen isn't real?
The actor Robert Pattinson exists, and that's probably the closest you'll get. All right, so the last word that we're going to go over is foreshadowing. So foreshadowing, it happens in a lot of plays, it happens in books, it happens in TV, even movies, to where they set it up and it's used very commonly. So could y'all just repeat for me the word foreshadowing?
Foreshadowing.
All right, so foreshadowing is when an author or the playwright or the screenwriter, they have something happen or reference it right then, and they reference something that happens later on in the play, the show, the film, the book, whatever. So in Oedipus Rex, it's basically the whole play is about foreshadowing. Whenever the fortune teller tells Oedipus that his life is about to basically be changed to where he's no longer going to be the king, that he's going to be killed by his own son's hand, it's basically just an entire block of foreshadowing. So they say what happens, and at the end, when what she says happens to where he's no longer king, he's wandering the desert blind, it was foreshadowed earlier in the play because of that. So does anyone have any examples that you've seen? It could be in a book, it could be in a play, a movie. Anyone have any examples of foreshadowing?
What about the Little Red Riding Hood?
All right.
When the mother is concerned for her safety,
Mm-hmm.
and then the wolf appears.
Yep. That can kind of be a little bit of foreshadowing. It's not necessarily as explicit, but, you know, she comes and she says, hey, something's going to happen, you need to prepare, and what do you know? Something happens. So does anyone else have an example of foreshadowing?
What about Ebenezer Scrooge?
All right.
With, like whenever he shows what his life will be like if he doesn't change,
Mm-hmm.
and then he changes it. So it doesn't. So he like,
Right. No, I really like the train of thought you're on. It's not exactly foreshadowing, because with foreshadowing, it actually has to happen. But I really like the kind of train of thought you're going with.
What about Romeo and Juliet? When Romeo says he prefers to die sooner than live without Juliet.
Exactly, yeah. He says that, and then he thinks that Juliet's dead, and then what do you know it? He decides he's not going to live without her, and then...
What about Bonnie and Clyde?
All right, Bonnie and Clyde. What about them?
I don't know, crazy.
Yes, they are.
Didn't they get shot down?
They did, yes. However, there's not a play to what I'm aware of. There is a film about Bonnie and Clyde, but it's not exactly kind of on the track that we're trying to go for.
What about Indiana Jones?
Indiana Jones, all right.
When the guy says that they're a few steps away from Grail.
Mm-hmm. From the Grail, yeah.
Mhm.
are they really?
Are they really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's where the ground falls out or whatever.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's foreshadowing. They're like, hey, this is about to happen, and then the floor literally falls underneath them. So, yes, those are some really good examples.